No. Would you
I
be?
can't connect.
You're here.
To the speaker?
Yeah. Are you okay if I take my mask off for the
Absolutely.
video?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, thanks for your patience, guys. We're just getting a few things finished up over here on our side, and we will get started. Appreciate your patience. I want to make sure too, let me see. Let me see. Oh, Fritzy, you can't sign in because then it signs me out. I'm so sorry. Yeah, when I sign in, it'll boot you out. All right.
Okay. So I'm where I need to be. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Around with it as well.
Am I out of the class? I can just watch.
Yep. So some of you are muted and you don't have your video on, which is absolutely okay. But we are going to be asking if you have any questions or anything. So if you'd like to be unmuted so that you can ask a question, please feel free. Or you can also use the chat option that is available. So let me make sure that we have that pulled up too, so that if you do have any questions, we make sure that we see those. Okay, let me see. Start a new chat. New chat. All right, and I think that that's what we have to do, right? All right, awesome. All right, wonderful. So welcome everybody. Welcome to Excel 101. We are going to be going through some basic Excel tools and things that you can do. Some of you might be familiar, some of you might not, but Excel is basically a program that helps track any kind of data that you're trying to keep, whether that be numbers or just categories. We can enter formulas, we can make charts. So there's a lot that we can actually do with Excel, and we're going to go through some of those basics today. So let's get started. Just to point this out, an Excel sheet, the whole thing, the whole document is called a workbook. And then in each workbook, you have spreadsheets. Now, when we actually open the Excel program, I'll make sure to point these out to you so that you can actually see what we're talking about as well. Oh, my name's Kayla, by the way. I should have introduced myself. I'm sorry, guys. And Sarah's helping me today. And also, just as a side note, before we get into the nitty gritty, if you are attending on Zoom, we will be sending you a class intake form afterwards. And if you wouldn't mind filling that out for us, please, since we are a nonprofit, showing that we have attendance at these classes allows us to offer more classes that are free down the line. So let's begin. So in Excel, to get to the actual program on a Windows computer, you're going to go to your Start menu and you'll hit Open. And the Start menu is actually in alphabetical order. So you'll go to the E's, you'll find Excel, and you'll click on the program to open it. So we will also show you how to do that now on our screen share. You'll see that we're going down to our Start menu. And when that opens, you'll see all of our nice applications on the left-hand side. We'll find Excel under the E's, and that's how we open the program. So now that this is open, when we want to start a blank worksheet, we're going to start putting in some data. We're going to go to New on the left-hand column. And once that pops up, you'll hit Blank Worksheet. So now that we have this open, I can kind of explain that worksheet, workbook that we were talking about. This document itself is a workbook. And if you notice at the bottom of the screen, it says Sheet 1. We are on the first sheet in the first workbook. If you want to add more sheets to add more data, you would just hit that little plus at the bottom there. This is nice when you're trying to compile a lot of data for one subject in one workbook. Instead of having to open multiple Excel programs for the data, if it's all related, you can add it into this one sheet. So that is basically we're going to be working from a tutorial worksheet that will open in a second. But also we want to talk about the toolbar here at the top. We're going to be working from the home toolbar. You see there's a lot of options, but since this is just 101, we're going to be going over these basic tools today. And if you're familiar with Microsoft Word, you'll see the font size, and how you can change the text and all of that, that you might recognize from a Word document. And then some other tools that might look new that we'll go over today. So to save your workbook, oh, we talked about opening existing workbook, excuse me, I jumped ahead. So when we want to save a spreadsheet, so you have some data in there, you want to save it so you don't lose it, you're going to go to that same place where we opened a workbook, but this time we're going to save. So we'll pop back over to our Excel side so we can actually show you this. If you go to the top, you'll see where File is at the far left. We'll click File, and now on the left, you'll see Save and Save As. So we want to save as for the first save that we do. And when you want to save, you'll go to Browse and find where you want to save the file on your computer. So for the sake of this class, we already have on our desktop. So if you find desktop on the left-hand side, we have a nice Excel folder. So if you're in here in class using one of our laptops, then you'll have this folder in there, and this is where we'll be saving everything to. If you're at home, you can save wherever is most appropriate for yourself, where you'll be able to find this file again at another time. So when you're ready to save, you would just hit save. Nice and easy. Yes, that's the worksheet that we'll be working through. And I also wanted to show you another quick shortcut. Once you've saved once, at the very top of the program on the left-hand side, you'll see a little floppy disk looking image. Now, once you've saved before, you have to save the first time, but then after you've saved the first time, you can just click that and that'll automatically save it to the file in the place that you've already designated when you saved the first time. So we are actually going to open the spreadsheet that we sent to you now, and we'll show you how to open the document as well. So we're going to go to the same place we went to save, but this time we'll go to open. So we go to File, Open, and we sent you guys in an email this worksheet that we're opening. It's called Excel Guided Tour Example. So I hope that all of you found that okay. And this just has some examples that we're going to be working from. And we thought if you wanted to follow along, you could open this workbook and follow along with us. Do you have that workbook? Do you need help getting to it? Okay, perfect. All right. So now we're really going to get into it. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is entering data. Nice and easy. So when we go back to our workbook, we will select a cell, and if you start typing once the cell is selected, it will immediately start entering that content into the cell. So we are going to switch back over to our workbook now, and we're going to click on cell A1. Now, once it's clicked, you can see the little green border around it. It means that that cell is selected. I think I explained to everybody at home. We have some people in the office and some at home, so we'll be taking questions here and there, and we appreciate all of your patience with us as we work through this. So on this worksheet here, you want to make sure that you're on example 1. You can see that we have 4 sheets at the bottom of our workbook, and we're going to be working from example 1 first. So you want to highlight cell A1, and you can immediately start typing, and it'll start typing that content into the cell. Now, once you have the content in the cell, you can hit enter, and it populates that in there. Another way that you can work through your cells is by using your arrow keys. So say you want to go up or down or side to side, you can use your arrow keys to navigate through the workbook. You okay, Fritzy, back there? Okay. So one of the handy tools that we use in Excel a lot is the merge and center tool. Now, to merge and center something, you need to select all of the content that you want to be merging. What merge and center means is it's going to take something that is in multiple cells and it will suck it into one cell for you. So we're going to put our cursor over A2, and when we hover over it, don't click yet, when we do click, you want to drag to the right. So what that's going to do is it's going to highlight all of the content in cell A2, B2, and C2. Now, once you have all of the content selected, you'll go up and click your merge and center button. And as you can see, this makes this in a nice clean cell instead of in 3 cells. And it also has centered the content for us so that it just looks nice and organized. Another common tool that we use in Excel is the wrapped text tool. Now, what the wrapped text tool is going to do is it's going to take the text in multiple cells, and it's also going to put it into one cell, but instead of merging the 3 cells together, it's going to pull that content into the first cell that we select. So if you hover over A4 and click and drag to B4 to select all of that content, and then go up to your wrap text button, what it does is it pushes all of that content into the first cell we selected. But as you can see, it looks like some of that content is missing. The reason being is there's not enough space in this cell right now to fit all of those words. So we actually need to make the cell larger. To do that, you hover your mouse between 4 and 5, between the cells you want to make larger. And when you do that, you'll see a nice crosshair come up. You're going to click and drag down to the size that you want that cell to be. And now that cell is large enough to fit all of that text that we wrapped down underneath of it. Any questions so far? No? Let me just check our chat on the Zoom to make sure we don't have any questions so far. Nope, I don't see any in there either. Perfect. Yes. Yep. And you can also make the cells larger in the rows. So we can go over that again here in a little bit. So the next topic we're going to talk about is adjusting the alignment. So in Word, you know, you have your left align, your center align, and your right align. We can do the same thing with Excel and in the cells, but there's also a top, a middle, and a bottom align, because we want to be able to align that content wherever we want to put it in the cell. So we're going to go to the workbook now, and we're going to try this as well. Yes. We are actually recording this video. So if you want, we can send it to you afterwards, and you can refer back to whatever you need. Yes. All right. So we are going to talk about our alignment now, or we're actually going to do the alignment. So if you go to A6, where the first hello is, and select A6, then you're going to go back to the top of your toolbar, and you'll see there are these lines up here where our mouse is. These are all of our alignment tools. So we're going to align this cell at the top. And again, it doesn't look like much has changed, and that's because there's not enough room in that cell right now to show any difference. There's only enough room for that text to be. But if we go down and we enlarge our cell so that we create a space where it needs to be aligned, we can see that that is aligned now at the top of the cell. Yep, go to your crosshairs between 6 and 7 and pull down. Control Z. Okay, perfect. All right, wonderful. So now we're going to align the next one in the center. So we have B6 selected, and we're going to go to our next alignment, which is middle align, and we will click that And as you can see, that popped that hello to the middle of the cell. No? Yep, no worries.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Sarah's coming over to help. While she's checking, I'm gonna check our chat, make sure nobody's asking any questions. All right. So now we're going to go to C6 and we will align this one at the bottom. But as you can see, it's already aligned at the bottom, so we can click it, but it's not going to do any change. So now we want to talk about aligning at the left, the center, and on the right. So if we go back to A6, select the first one, and we hit right align, or align left, excuse me, right and left. It's different when it's on the PowerPoint and in front of you. So it didn't have much change, but that's because this text is already aligned to the left of the cell. But if we go to B6 and we tell it to align in the center, you can now see that that cell is perfectly centered because it's now middle aligned and centered aligned. And if we go to C6 and hit right align, it pushes that to the right and it's still bottom aligned as we said it earlier. Any questions? No? All right. The next thing that we're going to talk about is filling data in a series. Now, this is a wonderful work tool that helps you quickly populate a pattern. So it has to be something where, as you can see here, we have 2014, 15, 16. It has to be something that it can automatically pick up that there is a pattern that it's going to generate. So let's pop over to our workbook and we will try entering something in a series. For this example, please go to example 2 on your worksheet. As you can see here, we already have some series started for you that we will be working from. So if we hover over B1, click and drag over to C, you'll see it's selected all of our content. And once our content is selected, there's this small black box at the bottom right of the cell. When you highlight over it, you'll see your crosshairs come up. And when those crosshairs come up, click and drag all the way over as far as you need. And when you let go, you can see that it automatically populates the rest of those months for us. It even rolls over into the year and does it again. So this just saves you a lot of time when you have to enter in a series of repetitive numbers. And we're going to do the same thing again with the 2021 to 22. You'll hover over A2, click and drag down to A3. Find your little box at the bottom right. And once those crosshairs come up, click and drag down. And once you let go, you can see it automatically populated all of those dates in there for us as well. So this is a huge time saver when you're entering a lot of information. Yes. Questions? Oh, it didn't do it? I will check our chat while she's helping everybody here, make sure we're not missing any questions online. And again, if you are muted, your mic is muted and you want to unmute so you can ask us a question, please feel free. All right, so everybody's good there? Wonderful. So we are going to talk about applying a cell border now. So a cell border is essentially a box that it's going to put around each cell that we tell it to. I know that when we look at our worksheet, if we switch over to our worksheet, we can see that it already kind of has some cells there, but these cells aren't going to show up if you were to print the document. So to show you what we mean, we're going to do a print preview just to show you on this document, those cells aren't actually showing up. And we want to make those show up so that our charts and everything has that nice organization when we print it off. So to do that, we have to manually tell it to put a border. So we're going to show you another little trick when we put these borders in there. If you hover over your 1 and you click the one, you can see it highlights that entire row. Not only just the content we created, but the entire row in that worksheet. But for the sake of this example, we're going to do that to apply our borders. So to apply a border, you're going to go to the top toolbar and it looks like a little window. When you click that down arrow, you see there are a lot of options for applying a border in a lot of different ways you can. For the sake of this example, we're going to choose all borders. And what this does is it's going to put a border around every single box, just like we see the Excel worksheet. So we're going to apply another border. If we click on A, it's going to click that entire column in the worksheet, not just our content. And we're going to tell this border to apply only to the outside. So we're going to click outside borders. And what this does is it puts a border on the outside of all of the content that you created. So again, we're going to go to the print screen just because it's a little easier to see without all of those cells in there. And as you can see, we now have a border around every single cell for the months, but the years, we just have a border around the entire content because we told it to only do the outside borders and not all of the borders. Does everybody follow along? Any questions?
And you could have done individuals if you want.
Yes.
Doing that same setting that you did.
Yep. We can actually, do you want to go give her a hand? There's like just bottom borders, there's just top borders, there's just inside borders, right borders, left borders. So yeah, whatever you need. And while she's helping one of our participants here, I'm going to pop over to our chat just to make sure we're not missing any questions. Perfect. All right. So now that we have some borders, we're going to talk about some shading in the cells. Shading in the cells is nice when you want to separate or organize your categories. So maybe one line is white and then you have blue and then white and then blue. I'm sure you guys have seen those sort of worksheets. This is what we're going to be doing now. So we're going to switch over to our workbook. And again, we're going to select one to just select that entire row. And to change the background of the cells, there's the little paint bucket up at the top. That's currently with a yellow. When you click on that, it'll give a bunch of color options. And for this example, we're going to click black. But all of the content now looks like it's gone because the text is black. So we actually need to now change the text color. So if you go over right next to it with the A that currently has red underneath, we're going to select white. Now you can see that we have that nice font back there. You got it, Fritzy? I think it looks like you're getting it. Yep, right beside of it, there's the A. You want to click that and hit white. Did it change it for you? Perfect. All right, now we're going to do this again because it's good to do things a couple times. We're going to hit A to select the whole column. And this background, we're going to change to scarlet. And for the font, we'll change it to gray. Go Bucks. Yeah.
I think
The whole column,
yes,
yep.
I only got one box, so I have to do that. And then hit start. Thanks.
You're welcome. What we're here for. All right, just yeah, we can pop over. So we'll show you the print preview again, just to show you what this looks like if we were to print the page. You can see now all of our cells are nice and colored. So the next topic that we are going to cover is formulas. So formulas are great when you're needing to add a budget or whatever it is that you're working on and you don't want to do the math yourself. That's another great thing about this program is it will help do the math for you. So we're going to go to our worksheet and we're going to go to example 3. where we have some numbers already populated in there for you. So excuse me, to use the sum formula, you want to only select the content that you're trying to add. This isn't one that you can select the whole cell. The reason being is all of the cells that you select, the formula will put the added amount at the cell underneath of it. So once we select all these cells and we hit add, you'll see that number pop into A6. So to select the cells, we want to hover over A1 and drag all the way down to A5. Now, there are a few ways that we can find the sum, and we're going to go over 2 of those with you today. So up at the top on our main toolbar, at the far right, you'll see the auto sum option. Now you can click the down arrow and hit sum, or you could just click right on auto sum. And you can see now it populated in A6, the sum of that content. So we're going to do this another way. We're going to hover over B1 and drag all the way down to B5. And this time we're going to use our quick analysis box. The quick analysis box is this little box on the right that pops up when we have our content selected. So once you have your content selected and you click the quick analysis, you're going to go to totals, sorry, I couldn't see it from here, totals. And under totals, you'll hit sum. And it'll do this. Oh, no worries. We'll pop over and help.
Yeah, because mine was automatically did 310.
It already had it.
And it had it already, so when I said replace, I said, yeah. Okay. When I sent
If the workbook already had 310 in there, if you highlight that number 2, it would just populate the total underneath of that. So now that we have some nice totals, we're going to talk about formatting the numbers. So we're going to pop back over to our PowerPoint just really briefly. I think we have this one on there too, right? Yes, perfect. Applying a number format. So number formats are good when you want to have a currency, percentages, dates. Excel is pretty smart and it can pick up if you're putting a date in, if you're putting figures in, and it can help you format that into a better format. So if we go to our Excel worksheet, we'll actually do this with you now. So we're going to select A1, click and drag. You can select the whole column too for this if you want, but for the sake of keeping it consistent, we'll go ahead and just select all of the numbers there. And once that's selected, you can, take your time. Yep, click and drag down till you get 310. No problem at all. Take your time. No, it's okay.
What a mouse.
No, it's okay. Checking to see if anybody at home had any questions. No. All right. So once we have all of the cells selected, you can right click and you'll see at the bottom of that drop-down menu, the bottom section, it says Format Cells. So once we click on Format Cells, it comes up with a nice category box. Did you get it? Oh, it's okay. That's what the class is for. That is okay. I'm just gonna check on all you participants. Doing okay. Just one moment, guys.
Okay.
Thanks for your
Okay, right
patience.
click. I don't think that's something we added, is to make sure that your cursor's in the highlighted area.
Oh, thank you. Okay,
Oh,
yes.
I didn't have that.
Well,
And then right click, and then
I'll explain the question to you guys at home in case any of you are having this issue. So when you have your content selected, you want to make sure that you right click within that selected content. If you right click outside of the content, it's not going to pick up what you're trying to do. So we'll right click inside. Sorry. Oh, that's okay. We'll reselect our cells, right click, and we'll go down to format cells. Once that pops up in the categories, we're actually going to click currency. So we're going to keep the decimal places at 2, and we're going to keep the symbol at the $sign. Now you can see there are other currencies for other countries, but we're going to stick with the $sign because that's what we use. So once you have that selected and you hit OK, you can see that it automatically creates a currency format for you. Oh, those are just examples. Once you're on currency and it has 2 decimal points and the $sign, you just have to hit OK. The numbers below are just an example. Perfect. Awesome. All right, so we're not going to do any percentages or anything in this class. We're going to stick to more of the basics, but we are going to format some dates as well. So if you go to C1 and you highlight and drag down to C5, select all of that content, you're going to right click in the cell, go to format cells again, and this time you can see that it already sensed that we were trying to get a date in there, but we're going to tell it to actually write out the date. So if you'll select Wednesday, March 14th on the example, and then hit OK, it looks like we got an error, but that's okay. What's happening is there's not enough room in that cell for it to populate all of the information. So now we need to widen our cells just like we had to widen our cells before. So we're going to go between C and D, find our crosshairs, click and drag that to the right. And now we can see that it's put that information in there for us. It just needed enough room to be able to do so.
And if you scroll to make
Yes, just keep pulling it. Yep. Of pound signs? Like we had, yes, we'll come get you. Any questions on our online attendance? We're checking over. I don't see anything in the chat. Again, please feel free to speak up if you have any questions. I think, Dusty, are you trying to say something? No? Okay, just making sure. Just want to make sure we're keeping y'all on the same page here. We don't want to lose anyone. No, that's fine. Oh. All right, everybody caught up? So now we're going to talk about creating a table. Let me make sure I'm on my right note card here. Just 1 second. Yes, okay. So tables are great, again, for just organizing data. It just helps get things in a way that's easier to read. It's all about that visual for this one. As you can see in this example, it automatically colors the different cells and everything for you, and we'll show you how to do that now. So we're going to go back to our Excel worksheet, and for this example, please go to sheet 4 or example 4 on your workbook. So to put this chart into an Excel chart, we need to select all of the data again. So we're going to hover over A1, click and drag to B, but before you let go, also drag down. This way it selects all of the content that we have in this worksheet. Once all of that is selected, we're going to go back to our quick analysis tool. We're going to click on that, and we're going to go to tables and click table. So as you can see, this is now in a nice table. It's nice and neat. It's color coordinated. And we also have a few different options for organizing our data within this table. So you'll notice there's a down arrow under suites. If you click on that, you have the option of organizing between A to Z or Z to A. So we're going to organize from A to Z. And what happens is it automatically organizes all of those categories in alphabetical order. Another way that we could organize this information is with the down arrow in the number of people per suite treat. If we click that down arrow, we see that we can organize this from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. So we're going to click smallest to largest. So it messes up our alphabetical order because we can only organize the data in one way. So now that we have our data nice and organized, any questions or anything before I go on? Okay. Now that we have the data organized, we're going to show you how to put this data into a nice visual chart. So we're going to select everything again, starting with A1, pull over and down to select all of the content. Select your quick analysis tool. And this time we're going to hit charts. So we have a couple different options, but for the sake of today, we're going to hit clustered column. You're okay, take your time. So you'll go to your quick analysis, the bottom right, and then you'll go to the chart tab and you'll click, we did the first chart. No, you're okay. That's what we're, okay. So now that we have this nice visual chart where we can see all of our data represented, there are a few options at our toolbar at the top where you can change the visual of the chart if you want it to look a little different. You can mess around with some of those. It's all the same data. It's just in a different, it's just one aesthetic versus the other in that way. Everybody following along? Awesome. Any questions? Yeah, let's check online, the chat. I don't think I see any. Nope, no questions online? All right, guys. So we're going to briefly touch on Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is a wonderful program that's similar to Excel. It has all of the same tools and formatting options, but it doesn't look exactly like it does in Excel. So you might have to search for some of the tools. Anybody can use Google Sheets as long as you have a Google account. So if you have a Gmail email account, then you have access to Google Sheets. And if you don't have one, it's easy enough to sign up for an email, and then you can have access to Google Sheets. So we're actually going to pull it up and just give you so you can see what it looks like. So as you can see, it looks very similar to.
Just if you don't have access to Excel.
Yes, this is if you don't have access to Excel. I prefer Excel, honestly. Yeah, it has more options. So Google Sheets does have all of the basic kind of tools that we went over today, but it's not as complex as Excel is. So we're just going to briefly touch on some of these tools very briefly because I don't want to confuse all the information we just gave you with some of this new information. But in the Google Sheets, you can change the size of your cells just like we did in the Excel spreadsheet by hovering and pulling any of your bars that you want. You can see at the top, there are your text options, bold. The A is our font changing. The paint bucket tool is if we want to fill the cell with a color. The window looking tool is our borders. This is the merge cell option. So if you remember what we did at the beginning of the class, when we took the 3 cells into one, that's that option. These are our alignment tools and vertical top align. this is the text wrapping, which pushed all the text into one cell for us underneath. And then there's our chart tool and our functions, which is the sum. Now, I'm not going to go into any more detail unless you have questions on sheets. The reason being is I don't want to confuse all of the information that we've already given you with this new information. So any last questions or anything? It's okay, we'll just go back to this one. Any questions online? Let me see. No? All right, well, I think that that's all we had for you guys for today.
That's a
Yeah,
good base.
perfect. I hope we were able to touch on some of the basics of Excel for you, and we hope to in the future do a Excel 102, so we can talk about some of the next level. If any of you want this video recording that we did today, we will actually just email it out to everybody that signed up for the class, so that if anybody didn't get to attend, they can view this now and to go over it. Or if you did attend and you want to refer back to something to get an idea of what we talked about, you'll have this available. So I want to thank everybody for attending today in the office and on our call. And just as a reminder, we will be emailing you that intake form. And if you will, please fill that out for us, as we are a nonprofit that helps us offer these classes for you in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And thank you everybody who attended online. We are going to start disconnecting this meeting now. So we will see you all next time. Thanks so much. Bye. Oh, I just don't want to assign a new host. Oh, no, that's all right. End meeting for all.
Can you guys answer my question?
Yeah, what's up, Dusty?
What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
32. Oh,
Is that African or European?
I don't know that one. I wasn't witty enough to think of something. It was really great to meet you, Dusty. Hopefully we meet sometime in
Nice to
person.
meet you too. Yeah.
I'll have Sarah home to you safely soon.
Yes, for being awesome.
Oh, yes. We're sending her home with some cookies for you too. They're gluten-free, so.
Ooh, awesome. I
Yeah,
like
well, they're made
gluten-free.
with almond flour,
I gotta
so.
find out what, I haven't tried it.
All right, I'm gonna pop off here. Thanks, Dusty.
All right.
See
See y'all.
ya.